All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Conversations with me, Antoine Harris, and Kenyatta Watkins. How you doing today, Kenyatta?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing great, doing great. We're just going to jump right into it. So, coping with stress in general. Um, there a lot of times we talk about it, it's more of a bad thing. So, have you, really quick, is stress ever a good thing? And if so, how?
That is a very good question.
Yeah.
You know what? I think it can be.
Yeah.
Just that's the first thing that's coming to my mind. That's actually a question I've never been asked. But when I think about stress, when it happens, it kind of puts you in a position to where you have to either step back from things to figure it out or take a break from something, right? So or you have to just like stressful situations like can be good because it makes you evaluate, like reevaluate things. So if something is bringing you stress, something or someone is bringing you stress, um that's the time for you to say, is this something that I need in my life? Is this someone that I need in my life? So it doesn't have to always be negative, because
Right.
it can be a time for you to just take inventory on the things that's going on in your life so that you don't have to deal with stress.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, like, I was thinking when it comes to the good stress, and I do believe that there is good stress. I look
Mhm.
at like buying a house.
Okay,
You
that
know,
type
it's
of
a
stuff.
it's an exciting time in life, right? But it can be stressful, but it's still exciting because it's like, man, I get to I'm in this position in life to be able to purchase my own home,
Oh yeah.
and it could be stressful. Um it could be like getting married, like in a good way. It's like, oh, it's so much stuff to do, but I know that this is the person that I want to marry and be with for the rest of my life. But it's a lot of stress leading up to
Yeah.
preparing everything for our wedding ceremony or whatever the case may be, with that honeymoon, all of that.
Or
So yeah,
even
there.
like dealing with
Yeah,
our students, students out there, school. School can be very stressful, right? But it's
yeah,
like getting that degree, getting that diploma at the end of it
yes,
all, it's
yes,
so rewarding. And knowing that you have this badge of honor, really, that's associated with your name because you went through it and you made it through and stuff.
yes.
That's the difference
Yeah,
from
that's a great point. That's such a
stress.
great examples of good stress. I know with me being a former athlete, like preparing for games, like
Mm-hmm.
the butterfly feeling there, it was some definitely good stress on Tuesdays and Friday nights, because you sometimes you just don't know. Like for me, I didn't know how my teammates were going to react, so it was always just a good stress, but still excited to hit the floor when that happened. So, stress. So for you guys listening, stress, it can be good. It can be very, very good. So now there's that other part. There's that other ugly part of stress that could lead to a lot of things. And I want to start with you. Describe a situation, a stressful situation. How did you handle it?
A stressful situation. Um, I would say probably, the purpose of all of this and us talking to the teens, being a teen mom, that experience, going into it was very stressful, just thinking about what I was going to do now. Like, this is happening. I was 16 when I got pregnant. Um, Star student and stuff. So like, it wasn't something that was expected of me, so it was very stressful. Thinking about my future and, what I was going to be able to do now, if I was going to have to drop out of high school, if I was still going to be able to attend college and different things like that. How I handled the stress, was really, I just kind of tapped into my strengths. Like, I remembered what my goals were. I remember who the type of person that I was. Um, so instead of me thinking about the things that I had to lose, I started to evaluate different ways that I could capitalize.
Yes.
So I started
Yeah.
to research schools that had on campus housing and had child cares and stuff that were close to me, that I can still have my family support. So that was the one situation that comes to my mind.
I'll have to agree with you in my situation as well. Being a father at 17, that was a very stressful situation, and
Mhm.
my way of, handling it. It really, I got to give a lot up to my family, my village, because there were days and nights that I really really struggled, and it took some talking to for me to kind of tap into my strengths that you like you talked about, but it was just a lot different because I was in that position where, you know, going off to college. It was that time when it happened, and I was getting a lot of scholarships, and becoming a teen parent, like a lot of those scholarships stopped from major universities, 4-year schools. So those things stopped. So leading up to becoming a teen parent was very stressful getting through that, and then when I was on, you know, getting offered these scholarships, and these scholarships were being pulled. So that was very, very stressful for me, and handling it was I took it as a challenge. And, especially with that, like as a chip on my shoulder, but it was like, yeah, I'm going to show you. And that is where I, was able to kind of propel myself through those stressful times, and move forward and be able to deal with that stress.
Yeah.
It says that 41% of young people have been extremely stressed or concerned in the pandemic. I'll edge on the side of caution. I was like, I thought that was a pretty low number. That may have been high. I think that probably was higher, just extremely concerned, or very concerned with kind of like stress. I don't know, like how, you working with teens in this, pandemic season. How was how was the stress of the teens that you work with or been around, or even your own son?
Yeah. Um, it was for my own son because my program had took a hold once the COVID had started, but just seeing my own son going through it and starting, I think it was a lot more stressful for him in the beginning. He had a lot of anxiety about going outside, and I think that may be what caused a lot of stress for a lot of the teens. It was like because with adults we kind of receive things differently, but
Mm,
with teens and young adults, and with the preteens and stuff,
yeah,
you kind of you take stuff with a grain, as it is. Someone tells you don't go outside, it's you're going to get sick. You're like, okay, not let me not. That's how Demaic was, my son. He's like, no, we can't go outside. He was very stressed out about going outside, about anybody he knows being outside. Like whenever I had to go somewhere, like it stressed him out because he was just so unsure about what was going on. Um, but I think once we started to get more information and he started to get more comfortable at home, with studying online and stuff, it became less stressful. And then it became the stress of us going back into the world now, right?
mm,
So with
mm,
schools opening back up and us being able to go back and see family members, it's like, is it safe? Like we went out last Friday, and we were trying to figure out what restaurants to go to, and whenever we went to our restaurant, it was too many cars, too many people. He no, we can't go to that one. Too many people there. I'm like, well, the Mike, it's a beautiful day out. It's Friday. Almost every restaurant is going to be full because it's the weekend and it's a
right,
beautiful day,
right,
So people are trying to get outside and enjoy the weather. So I'm like, if we're gonna be focused on how many people is in the place, we might as well just order out and go home. And he was
right.
like, we should just order out and go home. So he was like, no, this is not gonna work. So yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. With my daughter, it was, dealing with this was very stressful because when we went into this COVID season, she was a junior in high school, right? And it's like right after spring break, I think she was in school for a week, and then everything just started to shut down. And then it's bleeding over until the summertime, and then it's like, oh, it's extended into the school year. And her, she's a social butterfly, and being away from her friends, and it was very stressful time where in 2020, everything was canceled. Like graduation was canceled, prom was canceled, and those stressors of like, man, my senior year is coming up. Is that going to happen for me? Luckily, uh, she was able to have prom. She was able to have graduation, which she recently graduated, which I am a proud dad of that. Being 17 and having her, thank you, and her graduating now at 17 has been incredible. And and some of the things is just like we all were like in this kind of like collective trauma in this together. So it was a lot of on the job training, on the go learning, and
Mhm.
like different things with our kids. I like, what did you do? I know some things I've done with my kids, even students, is just, you know, being outside in our yard or exercising, making sure that eating well. Cause I know at times for myself, I didn't eat well in the pandemic. I
Mhm.
really didn't,
Yeah.
being stuck in the house and stuff like that. But just different tactics and ideas to be able to have fun and bring light to the situation in this season was very, very interesting. You had to be creative. So we had to be
Mhm.
creative with our kids
Mhm.
and write, more writing, more family game nights,
Yeah.
more Zooms, like, so what were some things that you guys have done to just kind of help cope with it and deal with the stress of everything that came with the pandemic?
Definitely like shifting the perspective of the situation. Not looking at it not looking at it as a situation where we're being kept from other people, but a time for us to be together, right?
Hmm.
So just like turning something negative to something positive. Now it's just you and
Yeah.
I. Now we can spend time together. And for the first part of the pandemic, my son was actually with his dad. Um, so and that added to that stress in the beginning too. Because he was not able to see me, and a spring break turned into now I'm here for months at a time because we're
Right.
not sure how I'm supposed to transition back home to be with you. So and then even in this past year, him going back and forth and catching COVID, like
Wow. Yeah.
because of the transitioning back and forth. Really, like I said, just learning to capitalize on the idea of it just being time for us to be together, us to get closer as a family. The people who live, who is directly in your home, instead of constantly thinking about the things that you were missing out on. Like what is it that we can actually, do in house together.
Yeah, that's such an excellent point because
Mm-hmm.
in life, a lot of things that will help us get through, but is trying to finding a positive in every negative
You
situation.
gotta
Just
shift your
really finding
perspective.
that glimpse of light
Mm-hmm.
in every negative situation. And now, if you can take that, if you built that capacity during COVID and now taking it throughout your life, I really believe that you could make some major progress in life overall. When, for me, I I did exactly that. I found a in this negative situation, I really found a positive, and that was to really kick off my business and like build everything from the ground up, day in and day out. As an educator, we had to upload our stuff online. I uploaded everything for the whole week and probably like a day and a half. And the rest of the time, I really kind of indulge and learn how to just kind of build a website, design a logo, and just doing all that stuff that I didn't know how to do, and just really put together everything from the ground up. So, and now put myself in a position where if this happens again, I won't be as stressed out because okay, I have a business, I have things that I can put out to people to, help them in their situation and add value to their lives. If they haven't pivoted in such a way to like stressors, like I've learned about stressors for men, stressors for black men. and how to be able to deal with it and connect with people on a different level. So it definitely was a negative that I really looked at it as a positive way, and it really has catapulted me to a different, a next level, another level, and just really excited about that. So, and if I could, help students do the same thing, like just really shift and change your perspective, change how you respond. I believe how you respond is very, very powerful. And, being very intentional about the choices and decisions that you make
Mhm.
on the day-to-day basis to really minimize the stress level that you can bring on yourself.
Yeah. Just in general, what are some things that you do to kind of cope with stress?
For me, I work out. I work out a ton. I get out in nature, even though, we were quarantined. I found a way to just kind of sit in grass, get some sunlight. When it got warm out here in Illinois, was able to get some sunlight. And then a music playlist that just kind of soothes me, or like neo soul is the type of music that really gets me rolling like that. That man, that relaxes me. I created an album of photos that made me happy, that made me smile. Um, and I wore clothes in that season around the house that I just felt comfortable in, and so that really kind of helped me cope with stress and bringing people together. That was probably one of the biggest things that I did, is I was able to get my a few, like two of my college basketball teams together and have a Zoom like party. I did stuff on House Party on Zoom, and just brought my family together, teammates together, that really just kind of like that made me feel good because, you know, I had teammates that live overseas in Ireland and New Zealand. So bringing everyone together was a major for me, and how I deal with stress, talking to people, and checking in on somebody. So,
Yeah. What's been different for you? Like what was different for you in high school? Like middle school, high school with dealing with stress? Like
oh,
how did
dealing with stress in
what was
high
different?
school, I believe I just got so used to like suppressing everything for years, and that is not a good thing. Like as an athlete, as a student athlete, it's like, and I was raised by my mom and my older brothers for the most part, and it was like no no crying, no whining, like we're gonna get through this, and put me in a position to just suppress it. So dealing with trauma is just like I really didn't know I was dealing with it. When it stress happened, I didn't know what stress was. I didn't know what depression was. I didn't know what anxiety was, but I knew it was happening. I just there wasn't a name for it. So my way of dealing with it is working harder, is putting myself to work, and just kind of burying my head and keep pushing forward, head in the sand and keep moving forward. So as long as I don't move backwards, and as long as I don't stop,
Yeah.
that was my idea of dealing and coping with stress as a teen parent, and everything that came with that.
Yeah. This is important. I think it's obviously as we grow and we mature, we find better ways to deal and cope with stress. But obviously,
Absolutely.
in our teenage years, and dealing with peer pressure and different things like that, it's easy to use outside vices outside of ourselves to handle things. So we run, right? We run. Like for me, dealing with stress, being like I would either run, like if it was something with my family, I would go to another friend's house. And then as I got older, it was hanging out and partying and drinking and stuff like that. Um and those are, like just to find healthy ways, to cope with stress. That's what we want. We want to push. It's like you want to make we try to separate ourselves from the stressful situations, when in reality, like I was saying in the beginning of it, we have to look at it as a moment for us to evaluate what's
Yes.
really going on.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
why am I feeling this way? What are the things that are going on in my life that I could remove, or the people that I can remove, instead of trying to separate ourselves from it? Because then we're not really getting through it. We're just covering it up, which
Yes.
isn't good, because it can come back. It can come back over and over and over again. So I definitely want to encourage, you all out there listening, to just find healthy ways to deal with stress, such as journaling,
Yes.
talking with people that you can trust, who you can vent to, and who won't judge you, who can be honest, and that may look like people who are older, counselors, family members, aunts. Everyone is not always so comfortable going to their parents with stuff, but you may have an auntie or older sibling that you can talk to, who has maybe been in a position that you've been in before. Myself or Antoine, like we're here. If there are some things that you're going through and you feel like you can't handle on your own, and you don't want to deal with it negatively, I used to give my mentees journals when I would go to see them in the school. So we would spend like the last 10 minutes of our sessions. I would give them the opportunity to journal anything that they needed to talk about, that they didn't want to talk about in front of everybody. And then I would go home, and at the end of the night, I would read it, and then I would write them back. So it was a private conversation between them and me. So that way they were able to get things off their chest. And I remember back in grade school, like having a pen pal. I don't know if that was something you ever did.
That was a thing.
Having a pen pal. Like, but it was like, and I thought about that when I came up with that concept, because it was someone outside of my household, someone who's unbiased to my situations, and that I could talk to and vent to get some things off of my chest. And I encourage you all to do the same thing. Talking is something that we don't really like to do, but it's something that's necessary, because you never know what other people have been through. And we go through life a lot thinking that we're going through things alone, that no one ever understands, and that causes a lot of unnecessary stress. When all you have to do is just open your mouth and express yourself to someone so that they can help you get through it.
Yeah, I think that's put very well in what you said. And I just want to kind of go back to what you said earlier with taking that inventory, guys. Take that inventory of the people you're spending your most time with, who you're texting, who you're calling, group texting, what you're watching, what you're listening to. Take an inventory of all of that and seeing if you can remove those things that's negatively impacting you, to just really kind of alleviate some of that stress that you could be, uh, that could be just coming down on you, because a lot of it is our environment. It is our environment, and really being able to control your environment. I like to say there's two things you can control. And that's your attitude and effort. But I'll expand upon that. Your environment. You definitely can control your environment and what you are consuming on the daily basis. So really take that inventory, out with the old, in with the new, to help you better be able to deal and cope with stress as you go on your journey in life, whether in middle school, high school, or just graduate. So yeah, if nothing else, if you don't have anything else, Miss Kenyatta, this will wrap us up for coping with stress and moving forward. All right,
Yeah.
guys. We will talk to you all soon. See you next week, and holler at you soon.